In the summer of 1244, King Louis IX of France lay gravely ill. Amidst his suffering, devastating news arrived. Jerusalem had fallen once more into the hands of the Muslim infidels. In a moment of profound devotion, the king vowed that if he recovered, he would dedicate himself to reclaiming the Holy City through a new crusade. Following his recovery, 4 years were spent meticulously preparing for the Seventh Crusade, which he launched in August 1248. Filled with fervent zeal, he and his army set sail to Egypt, the centre of Islamic power and the lifeline of the Ayyubid Sultanate. As the Crusaders advanced up the Nile, they encountered stiffening resistance from the Egyptian forces led by the young and capable Sultan al-Salih Ayyub. Despite initial success, the French army began to face challenges: the scorching Egyptian heat, the unfamiliar terrain, and the constant threat of enemy attacks. The situation grew increasingly perilous as the Crusaders found themselves trapped in a narrow strip of land between the river and the desert, vulnerable to encirclement. The stage was set for a decisive confrontation at the Battle of Mansurah, a fortified city strategically located on the Nile, which lay directly in the path of the Crusaders. It was here that the fate of the Seventh Crusade would be determined. Jean de Joinville, a knight and close advisor to King Louis IX, accompanied the king on the Seventh Crusade. His first-hand account of the Battle of Mansurah provides a unique glimpse into medieval warfare. He describes the events as follows.
I and my knights had decided to go and attack some Turks who were loading their baggage in their camp on our left. So we fell on them. As we were pursuing them through the camp, I caught sight of a Saracen on the point of mounting his horse. One of his knights was holding the bridle. At the moment he had both of his hands on the saddle to pull himself up, I gave him a thrust with my lance just under the armpit and struck him dead. On seeing this, his knight left his lord and the horse, and thrusting his lance at me as I passed, caught me between the shoulders, pinning me down to the neck of my horse in such a way that I couldn't draw the sword at my belt. I therefore had to draw the sword attached to my horse. When he saw me with my sword drawn, he withdrew his lance and left. As I was coming back, the Turks thrust at me with their lances. Under the weight of their attack, my horse was brought to its knees and I went flying forward over its ears. I got up as soon as I could, with my shield at my neck and sword in hand. One of my knights, named Erard de Sivary, may God grant him grace, came to me and advised our drawing back towards a ruined house where we could wait for the king, who was on his way. But as we were going there, some on foot and some on horseback, a great body of Turks came rushing at us, bearing me to the ground and riding over my body so that my shield went flying from my neck. As soon as they had passed, Erard de Sivary came back to me and took me with him to the walls of the house. While we were there, the Turks attacked us from all sides. Some of them got into the house and pricked us with their lances from above. My knights asked me to hold on to their horses' bridles, which I did, for fear the beasts should run away. Then they put up a vigorous defence against the Turks. During this incident, Hugh de Cotte received 3 wounds in the face from a lance, and so did Raoul de Wanou, while Frederick de Lupe had a lance thrust between his shoulders, which made so large a wound that the blood poured from his body as if from the bunghole of a barrel. A blow from one of the enemy's swords landed in the middle of Erard de Sivary's face, cutting through his nose so that it was left dangling over his lips. Just as I had uttered a prayer, he said to me, "My lord, if you think that neither I nor my heirs will incur reproach for it, I will go and fetch you help from the Comte d'Anjou, whom I see in the fields over there." I said to him, "My dear man, it seems to me that you would win great honour for yourself if you went for help to save our lives. Your own, by the way, is also in great danger." I spoke truly, for he died of his wound. As I stood there on foot with my knights, wounded as I have told you, King Louis came up at the head of his battalion with a great sound of shouting, trumpets and kettle drums. He halted with his troops on a raised causeway. Never have I seen a finer or more handsome knight. He seemed to tower head and shoulders above all his people. On his head was a gilded helmet, and a sword of German steel was in his hand. The moment he stopped, those good knights in his division whom I have already named to you, together with other valiant knights of his, flung themselves right at the Turks. It was, I can assure you, a truly noble passage of arms, for no one there drew either bow or crossbow. It was a battle of maces against swords between the Turks and our people, with both sides inextricably entangled.
The Battle of Al-Mansurah initially seemed promising. The Crusaders, with their superior armoured knights, were confident in their ability to defeat the Egyptian forces. They had successfully captured the city of Damietta and were advancing towards Cairo, the heart of the Ayyubid Sultanate. Despite initial successes, the French were unable to maintain their momentum and quickly lost control of the situation due to a series of impetuous decisions. The French force, divided into 3 detachments, launched a surprise attack on the Egyptian camp 2 miles from the royal palace in Al-Mansurah. However, the attack quickly devolved into a chaotic pursuit of fleeing Egyptian cavalry, led by the impetuous Count of Artois. This reckless charge led the French deep into the city of Mansurah, where they were ambushed by the Egyptians. The ensuing battle within the city was a catastrophe for the French. The narrow streets and alleyways of Mansurah proved to be a death trap for the heavily armoured knights. The Egyptian forces were able to regroup and launch counterattacks, inflicted heavy casualties on the disorganised French forces, including the deaths of key commanders and a significant portion of their elite cavalry. The survivors were forced to retreat, enduring further hardships and setbacks. Louis IX himself was captured, and the French were forced to negotiate a humiliating peace treaty. Despite the catastrophic outcome, Louis IX's suffering during the Crusade contributed to his eventual sainthood. His unwavering faith and perseverance, even in the face of adversity, earned him admiration and respect throughout Christendom.